Hello everybody and welcome to another Twilight Zone review. Today it is Season 3, Episode 23, The Last Rites of Jeff Myrtlebank, written and directed by Montgomery Pittman, and starring James Best as Jeff Myrtlebank and Sherry Jackson as Comfort Gatewood. And I would say this episode has a lot of ups and downs, but overall it's a pretty fun episode, and there's quite a bit that happens, so I'll get right into it. So we start, our setting is the 1920s as we're told, and a lot of the people in the town are at a funeral for a man named Jeff Myrtlebank, our main character. The only problem is in the middle of this service, Jeff rises from the coffin. This causes everyone in the place to get scared. They scream and they leave, which I would say is perfectly understandable. So then we get the opening narration. After that, we get Jeff coming out of, the place, and he's yelling, who put me in a coffin? And it is explained to him that it was thought he passed away. The doctor insists, I examined you and you were gone, you were passed away. And, Jeff says, well, obviously I'm still here. He approaches his parents and a girl named Comfort, who we find out he's supposed to marry. They're all, reluctant. They're very scared of him. But a little girl who we find out later is his sister hugs him, and she thinks that he played a joke on them. And, this whole episode is played more for humor than it is serious, which was an interesting idea that I think works for the most part, but has issues in a few spots, which I'll point out as I continue on. So, the doctor says he had a rare case of something. There's only like 30 cases or something in the world, and we can tell he's doing this to save face, not to look bad. And eventually the parents and Comfort open up and they welcome him back. So then we go to a scene where Jeff is back home and he says he's going to work, and his parents are concerned about him. His mom says he's not eating the same. His father said he was never so into work before, which I thought was kind of amusing. And then we get the part of the episode I feel isn't great. We get these odd scenes with people around town just talking about Jeff, and we get this scene with the sister and two other kids that really leads nowhere, and I'm not really sure why it's even there. Feels like this is filler. Then we get a scene with meeting of a lot of the men in the town, and we do find out some things here. This is they have a theory that because the doctor says, he was, I'm sure that he was dead. I examined him, he was gone. So they come up with this theory that maybe a spirit, or something overtook his body, and that's not really Jeff Myrtlebank. His body is just being used as a host, which is interesting. Unfortunately, it's not developed as much as it could be in the episode. It only comes back right at the end, but it's an interesting theory. So then we get another scene. This episode has just a lot of scenes that kind of go together but seem a little all over the place. Jeff goes to visit Comfort, and we find out that her brother doesn't want her to be with Jeff anymore because of all the talk about him. And Comfort says, I'll see who I want, I'll do what I want. So she invites Jeff in, and he brings her flowers that he just picked. The only thing is the flowers are already dead. So now knowing all the talk about Jeff, Comfort's worried. She backs away from him. So Jeff gets upset, and he basically leaves. He says, I thought you would be on my side even if no one else was. So then the brother comes outside. He says he's going to put an end to this once and for all. He confronts Jeff and tells him he doesn't want him around there anymore. They have some words, and then they fight, and Jeff wins the fight. So the brother, I think his name is Orgram, he's convinced, he goes to the men in town, to get his jaw checked because Jeff hit him. He's convinced that Jeff is now dangerous because he says, I could always beat Jeff in a fight. So this can't be the same guy. I thought that was kind of an interesting theory. But Comfort is there, and she hears about this, so she goes to warn Jeff. She says she's always loved him, and, he says you're going to have to make a decision, if you're with me or not. He asks Comfort to marry him, and then the men of town come, and they accuse him, of being someone else. If someone's stealing Jeff's body, you're not really Jeff, and you have to leave town. And Jeff says, well, it's up to Comfort. So Comfort decides that she'll marry Jeff, and this to me is easily the best part of the episode. They saved the best for last. where, Jeff's, how he handles this is really great. He says, well, if you're wrong and I'm just Jeff, I'm harmless, so you don't have to worry about me. But if you're right and I am someone else and I have the ability to do things, some bad things might happen to you, or some other, your possessions or things like that. So either way, he should be okay. Nobody should bother him in comfort now. So that's a pretty good, way to get out of it. Either way, he should be in good shape. And then we get this silly closing narration that I could have done without. But I guess it fits the light tone of the episode. We get, I'm not going to go into it heavy. I'll just say Rod Serling's closing narration for this episode is ridiculous, and I'm not even sure if it makes sense. But it kind of goes with the tone of the whole episode. Overall, this episode has some great scenes and some scenes that really don't work, that feel like filler. The episode's kind of all over the place, but I do like the humor in it. The episode has a unique feel. It may not work for everybody, but I found it satisfactory and overall entertaining. So I give The Last Rites of Jeff Myrtlebank a 3 out of 5. So 3 out of 5. For this episode, Last Rites of Jeff Myrtlebank, and I'd say check it out. It's pretty good. As always, thanks for your time.